What's up, everybody? So, I was listening to the Howard Stern show, and an episode came on with Lisa Marie Presley talking about her marriage to Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson was still alive at this time. She was being very short in that interview with her answers. She seemed to be annoyed in that interview, not particularly with Howard, but just with the Michael Jackson subject. She didn't want to really give any details on the marriage or anything like that. But when Michael Jackson died, that's when Lisa Marie tells a lot. She tells all, and a lot of people forget about their marriage. I did, and I think Lisa Marie broke his virginity. But right here, I'm gonna let you hear what Lisa Marie had to say about her marriage to Michael Jackson. Let's go. Years ago, Michael and I were having a deep conversation about life in general. I can't recall the exact subject matter, but he may have been questioning me about the circumstances of my father's death. At some point, he paused, he stared at me very intensely, and he stated with an almost calm certainty, I am afraid that I am going to end up like him, the way he did. I promptly tried to deter him from the idea, at which point he just shrugged his shoulders and nodded, almost matter of fact as if to let me know he knew what he knew, and that was kind of that. 14 years later, I am sitting here watching on the news. An ambulance leaves the driveway of his home, the big gates, the crowds outside the gates, the coverage, the crowds outside the hospital, the cause of death, and what may have led up to it, and the memory of this conversation hit me, as did the unstoppable tears. A predicted ending by him, by loved ones, and by me. But what I didn't predict was how much it was going to hurt him when it finally happened. The person I failed to help is being transferred right now to the LA County Coroner's Office for his autopsy. All of my indifference and detachment that I worked so hard to achieve over the years has just gone into the bowels of hell, and right now I am gutted. I am going to say now what I have never said before because I want the truth out there for once. Our relationship was not a sham as is being reported in the press. It was an unusual relationship, yes, where two unusual people who did not live or know a normal life found a connection, perhaps with some suspect timing on his part. Nonetheless, I do believe he loved me as much as he could love anyone, and I loved him very much. I wanted to save him. I wanted to save him from the inevitable, which is what has just happened. His family and his loved ones also wanted to save him from this as well, but didn't know how, and this was 14 years ago. We all worried that this would be the outcome then. At that time, in trying to save him, I almost lost myself. He was an incredibly dynamic force and power that was not to be underestimated. When he used it for something good, it was the best. And when he used it for something bad, it was really, really bad. Mediocrity was not was not a concept that would even for a second enter Michael Jackson's being or actions. I became very ill and emotionally, spiritually exhausted in my quest to save him from certain self-destructive behavior and from the awful vampires and leeches he would always manage to magnetize around him. I was in over my head while trying. I had my children to care for. I had to make a decision. The hardest decision I have ever had to make, which was to walk away and let his fates have him, even though I desperately loved him and tried to stop or reverse it somehow. After the divorce, I spent a few years obsessing about him and what I could have done different in regret. Then I spent some angry years at the whole situation. At some point, I truly became indifferent until now. As I sit here overwhelmed with sadness, reflection, and confusion at what was my biggest failure to date, watching on the news almost play by play the exact scenario I saw happen on August 16, 1977, happening again right now with Michael, a sight I never wanted to see again. Just as he predicted, I am truly, truly gutted. Any ill, any ill experience or words I have felt towards him in the past has just died inside of me along with him. He was an amazing person, and I am lucky to have gotten as close to him as I did and to have had the many experiences and years that we had together. I desperately hope that he can be relieved from his pain, pressure, and turmoil now. He deserves to be free from all of that, and I hope he is in a better place or will be. I also hope that anyone else who feels they have failed to help him can be set free, because he hopefully finally is. The world is in shock, but somehow he knew exactly how his fate would be played out someday. More than anyone else knew he was right. I really needed to say this right now. Thanks for listening. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Lisa Marie Presley talking about Michael Jackson. This right here is Lisa's interview with Oprah. And she said, Lisa Marie says, this time she wants to speak candidly about the intimate personal details that made her relationship with Michael as complicated and misunderstood as it was. You said on my show, yes, this was a real marriage, Oprah says, referring to her 2005 interview with Lisa Marie, but the rest of the world thought it was a big stage publicity stunt. A lot of that is what I wanted to clear up in this interview, Lisa Marie says. Though Lisa Marie says her marriage to Michael was real, she also admits that Michael was a master at manipulating the media. He was brought up that way, she says. He was conditioned to get himself where he needed to go for his career, and he became very good at making and creating and puppeteering. These manipulations made Lisa Marie question Michael's love for her at the time. I always confused that manipulation, thinking that it meant he didn't love me, she says, but I understand it better now. The manipulation was a survival tactic for him. Lisa Marie says any bitterness she held onto after their relationship ended gave way to clarity and understanding upon Michael's death. Why though? Along with a flood of emotions. Somebody got to die for you to have clarity. The day after Michael died, Lisa Marie expressed how she felt about his death and her perceived role in it on her blog. She wrote, "The person I failed to help is being transferred right now to the LA County Coroner's Office for his autopsy. All my indifference and detachment that I worked so hard to achieve over the years has just gone into the bowels of hell, and right now I am gutted." According to Michael's autopsy, a lethal level of the powerful anesthesia propofol and another sedative caused his death. Lisa Marie says she didn't suspect Michael had a drug problem during their marriage, though she does recall one incident that gave her pause. While rehearsing in New York for an HBO special in December '95, Michael collapsed on stage and was rushed to the hospital. I couldn't tell what was happening. Lisa Marie says dehydration, low blood pressure, exhaustion, a virus. What did your gut tell you? Oprah asked. You thought there was some drug use? Yes, she says. Lisa Marie also recalls times when she would pick Michael up from a certain doctor's office and he would not be coherent. Looking back, she says these behaviors were suspicious, but at the time, she didn't push the issue. Despite these suspicious incidents, Lisa Marie says the marriage was, in every sense, normal, open, and intimate. When Michael couldn't sleep at night, for example, she would stay awake to talk with him. She says she truly enjoyed being there for him. I loved taking care of him, she says. It was one of the highest points in my life when things were going really well, and he and I were united. It was a very profound time of my life. Then, after less than 2 years as husband and wife, the marriage ended. Lisa Marie, this is the interview. He had to make a decision. They're talking. He had to make a decision. Was it the drugs and the vampires or me? And he pushed me away. Oprah, vampires? Lisa, meaning people that are sort of psychopaths sucking his blood? Oprah says. Lisa Marie says, psychopaths, yes. Oprah, so you saw that all around him. Lisa Marie, oh yes. This is something Lisa Marie says her father Elvis faced in his life as well. My father and Michael had the luxury of creating whatever reality around them they wanted to create. They would have the kinds of people who were going to go with their program. And if they weren't, then they could be disposed of, Lisa Marie says. Legendary fame, addiction, prescription drug overdoses. The parallels between the lives of her father and former husband are astounding, even to Lisa Marie. It blows me away, to be honest with you, she says. Michael Jackson even died in a house that was across the street from a home Elvis once owned, a place where Lisa Marie says she spent time as a child. Michael also seemed to recognize the connection as Lisa Marie watched footage of the ambulance backing out of Michael's driveway. She said she thought back to a particularly eerie conversation she and Michael had in the Neverland Ranch library one day. I already read that part where he says he felt like he was going to die like her father. For someone who grew up in the spotlight, Lisa Marie is a very private person who prefers to avoid the public eye. It's just not in my nature to do that sort of thing, she says. Yet she could not help but fall in love with Michael, one of the most famous men in the world. He was an incredible, dynamic person, she says. He had something so intoxicating about him, and when he was ready to share with you and be himself, I don't know if I've ever been that intoxicated by anything. He was like a drug for me. People could not get enough of Lisa Marie and Michael Jackson. Since Michael was promoting an upcoming album during their relationship, there were many public appearances to make, including an appearance on the 1994 MTV Movie Awards that became known for the couple's famous onstage kiss. He knew I didn't love that, Lisa Marie says. I would be there uncomfortably and his hand was blue after we got off that stage. I had squeezed it so hard, but as his wife, I needed to do some things like that. From the day they said I do in 1994, Lisa Marie says Michael wanted her to have a baby. I did want to, but I just wanted to make sure, she says. I did want to, but I just wanted to make sure, she says. I was looking into the future and thinking, I don't ever want to get into a custody battle with him. Over time, she says, her hesitation became a source of contention. Then 2 months after their divorce was final, It was announced in October '96 that Debbie Rowe was pregnant with Michael's child, an act Lisa Marie calls retaliatory. So Michael really wanted to have. So Michael really wanted to have, real baby making love with Lisa, and she wasn't with it. Hmm. I don't know why she married him. If you marry a man, you shouldn't have no problems with wanting to have kids. I think, they should have talked about it before they got married, though. She was there the whole time telling him that she would have his child. Lisa Marie says he would tell me. Debbie said she'll do it. That's how he knew to handle it. If you're not going to, do it, this person will. That's what you mean by disposal, Oprah says. Yes, Lisa Marie says, that's exactly what I mean. At the time, Lisa Marie says she also did hurtful things that affected their relationship. One of those things involved Danny Coney, her ex-husband, and the father of her 2 older children. Lisa Marie says the fact that Danny was still in her life made Michael uncomfortable. We'd take a vacation and Danny would go, and Michael would get upset. We'd take a vacation and Danny would go, and Michael would get upset, she says. And then he'd disappear for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't find him. In addition to these disappearances, Michael would also push Lisa Marie away when he felt vulnerable, something she now recognizes as a coping mechanism. He honestly tried so hard and went through so much with me, she says. He's never done that with any other female. I didn't appreciate it then, and I wish I did. Even with the disagreements, difficulties, and stress in the marriage, Lisa Marie says she now knows Michael truly loved her. Oh, shut up. Did he have to die for you to recognize that he loved you? I think so, sadly. Oh, what a phony. Is that the first time you recognize, this is Oprah asking, is that the first time you recognize or believe that he truly loved you after he died? Shut the fuck up. This is so phony and fake and artificial of her, Lisa Marie. Not at the man that, get the fuck out of here. She's so phony. The sweeping answer would be yes. When we were together, we were really in love. And then we had the rough patches. And I had to make a decision to walk because I saw the drugs and the doctors coming in and they scared me. They put me right back into what I went through with my father. That ended it. But we still spent 4 more years together after we divorced. Really? Oprah says. Lisa Marie, getting back together and breaking up, at some point I had to push it away. So you still loved him even when you left him? Very much. I was trying to take a stand and say, come with me, don't do this. The last time Lisa Marie said she spoke with Michael was in 2005. At that point it had been nearly a decade since their divorce, and she had shut herself off from him emotionally. I was very distant, and he was checking to get a read, she says. He was trying to throw a line out to see if I would bite emotionally, and I wouldn't. During that final conversation, Lisa Marie says Michael told her she had been right about certain people around him, the vampires. He also asked her if she still loved him. I told him I was indifferent, she says. He didn't like that word. He cried. Oh. Before the conversation ended, Michael revealed something chilling to Lisa Marie. He felt that someone was going to try to kill him to get a hold of his catalog and his estate, she says. Damn. So he actually gave you names, Oprah says. He did, and I would like not to say them, Lisa Marie says, but he expressed to me his concern over his life. Damn. Conrad Murray. Prior to his marriage to Lisa Marie, Michael faced child sexual abuse allegations and rumors that continued to follow him for years. Amid these claims, strange interviews began to surface, in particular a 2003 documentary by Martin Bashir called Living with Michael Jackson. Lisa Marie. I didn't see the Michael I knew in that Martin Bashir interview. He was high as a kite from what I saw. Oprah. He had some pretty shocking things in that interview. He said some pretty shocking things in that interview, particularly about how he felt it was okay to sleep with young children. Lisa. I think he said stuff sometimes to be defiant. He got so angry at having been accused. I think that sometimes he was such a little stubborn rebel, and like a child, he would just say what he felt everyone didn't want him to say. So you never saw anything, and to this day, you don't believe that any of those molestation charges were true. No, I was never in that room, I can tell you. I never saw anything like that. September 3rd, 2009, Lisa Marie attended Michael Jackson's funeral with nearly 200 of his closest friends and family members. At the end of the service, after most people left, she said she was the last one standing there with his casket. As you stood over his casket, Oprah asked, were you able to make peace? Lisa Marie pauses. No, I don't think I could make peace then, she says. It was more like I wanted to apologize for not being around. Lisa Marie admits it's naive to think that she could have saved her ex-husband from his fate, but she wanted to more than anything. To this day, she wonders whether her efforts could have made a difference. Had I just said, "How are you? Can I try to make a phone call?" I really did regret that I didn't, she says. Lisa Marie now lives in England with her husband, Michael Lockwood. He's the most understanding person I've ever met in my life, and their twin daughters. It's been more than a year since Michael's death and 33 years since the death of her father, but Lisa Marie says their birthdays and anniversaries of their deaths are still extremely difficult days for her. Now she looks back on those relationships with perspective that can only come as a result of time and healing. And she says she's ready to move forward. Wow. Very sad. Very sad. R.I.P. Michael. We miss you, brother. The world miss you. The world love you. Peace.